To another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. This is Phil Dixon, and I'm coming to you live tonight with the December 15th, 2025 edition of This Day. And this is a special day. We're right at the middle of the month and still working to build up those subscriptions, just rolling along, just laying out facts, giving history. Now, guys, I hope have enjoyed what we're doing here because we're doing something that no one else is doing. And what I'm doing is I'm giving you these historic feats and then giving you commentary from my 45 years in being involved with doing research related to the Negro Baseball League. So, without hesitation, we want to go ahead and get started. We're about 1 minute in. So if you're joining me, I will say this several times. If you're joining me, go ahead and put in the city that you're from. All right. And we will go from there. Okay, so you ready for some facts? Let's start rolling. All right. Let's go to December 15th, 2022. The fourth annual session of the Negro National League met and at the Appomattox Club in Chicago. Of course, that address of the Appomattox Club, it was at 3632 Boulevard. I think that was State Boulevard, if I'm correct. So anyway, that was the Appomattox Club, and they met there and they nominated people to lead the Negro National League for the 1923 season. Of course, Andrew Rube Foster, was reelected as league president and treasurer. So he's going to lead the league and control the money. How about that? And John T. Blount, he's of the Detroit Stars, was elected as vice president. And J.L. Wilkinson was elected as the secretary of the league. So that's 1922, December 15th. The Negro National League is going real well. So there's some interesting things at that meeting. I'm not going to spend much time on them, but there were some teams like I think Hilldale was trying to get their $1,000 deposit back because they had been associate member of the league. However, they had the feeling that Hilldale was going to join this new Eastern Color League and was going to steal players from the Negro National League. So they refused to give them back the $1,000. So that's just some of the interesting things that went on in the meeting as they went into the 1923 season. Okay, and so that is 1922. Let me change this here because I have something here. Okay, so 1922. All right. Okay, let's go to this one. Here's somebody that's born on this date. Now, you know, some of these baseball fans might not catch this one. Who knows Warren Camardi? Okay, Warren Camardi does have a sports broadcast. I listen to it sometimes, and he broadcasts live from Japan. But how about this fact? December 15th, 1922, Leroy Camardi, that's his dad, was born in Miami, Florida. And his dad would later play professional baseball with the Indianapolis Clowns in the 1940s. But he was an outstanding football player. Remember I talk about these guys who were baseball players who could do a lot more than baseball? Okay, so he's one of them. So in football, he was a quarterback for Jake Gaither's Florida A&M Mighty Rattlers. Jake Gaither. What's interesting, I'm looking at a book right here, and this one is a book from, let's see what year we got here. Let me pull it out here. This is a yearbook from Wilberforce University, 1946, and then I have one that was over here from Wilberforce, 1929. And a lot of people don't know that Jake Gaither was a assistant coach under Frank Forbes at Wilberforce. Now, Wilberforce was a powerhouse in this period of time. So one game of note, it was the opening game of the 1945 season, and Camardi led his team to a 26-20 victory, 26-20 victory over Wilberforce. And Camardi ran a 15-yard dash over tackle for one touchdown, and then he intercepted a pass and ran 70 yards for another touchdown. Basically, he gave them the edge, and they ended up beating Wilberforce, a very powerful team, and Jake Gaither's last former employer. We'll just say that. So that was a good game there. Now, in 1945, Camardi was selected by the Pittsburgh Courier on its All-American football team. And Wendell Smith, you probably remember Wendell Smith, he was kind of the character they portrayed in the movie 42, who was with Jackie Robinson all the time promoting him. Well, Wendell Smith, this is what he noted of Camardi. He said, Camardi is the greatest passer in college football since Tarzan Kendall of Kentucky State. So Camardi is a sepia Sid Luckman. You remember Sid Luckman, right? So he tossed 22 touchdown passes and scored 5, which he ran for, all right? And this is for the Mighty Ramblers of Florida A&M. And he also threw 5 touchdown passes against Tuskegee and then threw 4 touchdown passes against Clark. This is Warren Camardi's dad. So we know Warren Camardi is the guy who played for the Montreal Expos. I even have a picture of Camardi when he played in Japan. So, but his dad was quite the athlete. So he was born on this day, December 15th, 1922. Now, if you're joining me here, make sure you put in where you're from, because I always like to acknowledge that. So anyway, it looks like somebody says Sydney. I'm not sure if that's Sydney, Australia, or where. But anyway, yeah, just go ahead and put that in there where you're from, and we'll keep rolling, all right? So that was our second fact. How about this one? December 15th, 1923. We're still talking about baseball players playing football. And putting Grady Orange on his All-Southern 11 football team, Coach Fred Long, who was also, Fred Long is one of the, if you look for the top 10 winningest college football coaches of all time, we grew up hearing about Bear Bryant, but how about Coach Long, Fred Long? And how about this one? Also, Jake Gaither is also in that top 10. All right, so we're going to learn about some people tonight. So anyway, Coach Fred Long of Wiley University selected Grady Orange for 2 positions on his all-Southern team. He was selected for a left halfback and also punter. And Long wrote, as a punter, the 155-pound Orange, he kicks balls on the average of 50 to 55 yards, okay? And then he added, he's a fair line plunger, talking about him as a running back, and an accurate passer and a dependable drop kicker. And so that was Grady Orange. Grady Orange goes on and plays for several Negro League teams, Detroit Stars, plays for the Kansas City Monarchs, and he passed away in a house fire. So that's Grady Orange, one of the all-time greats. Went to Meharry Medical College, and so he became Dr. Grady Orange. All right, so yeah, so once again, one of those multifaceted, highly educated athletes that we don't talk about. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Somebody says, filling down today, just got separated from my Siamese twin last year. But I'll tell you, people are so full of everything, aren't they? So anyway, guys, let's keep on going. I thought somebody was serious for a moment. Anyway, we're going to keep on rolling along. All right, so here we go. December 15, 1934. Okay. In a game that occurred in San Bernardino, California, Satchel Paige and Andy Porter combined for a one-hit win. Paige looked invincible for the 4 innings he pitched to defeat manager George Duncan's Acme Blues by a score of 9-1 in a Philadelphia Giants Winter League victory. Coup Papa Bell, Turkey Stearns, Wild Bill Wright, who was also a great football player, by the way, and catcher Larry Brown all had 3 hits each, and accounted for 12 of the Giants' 16 hits. Man, Larry Brown is a person, I haven't talked enough about Larry Brown. Just a great catcher out of Alabama and actually out of Tennessee. And Larry Brown should be in his state's Hall of Fame, and he's not. We're working on changing that right now. So we know about Coup Papa, Turkey Stearns. I'm sure you know about him. Wild Bill Wright. I don't know if he's in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, but he was certainly a multifaceted athlete as well. So, all right. So that's our little third fact for the day. So now, if you are joining me from somewhere, just let me know where you're from. Oh yeah, I'm joining you from Kansas City. If you have heard of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, well, I'm a co-founder of that museum. Proud of that, very very proud of that. And I'm somewhere in my DNA. I'm thinking about starting another museum. One of these days, I may retire and go and do that and start another historic museum. And so there's lots of work that needs to be done. And I like highlighting all of these athletes in my Midwest part of the country. All right. Okay. So we've got that. Okay. Let's go to this one. December 15th, 1937. This is the baseball player playing basketball. So when I talk about often, Clarence Fats Jenkins, a veteran Renaissance guard and Negro National League baseball player for the New York Black Yankees, scored 10 points in a 37-22 basketball win over the Shamrock Athletic Club at Rockford, Illinois. Rockford, Illinois. So these teams really traveled a lot, and these guys were all over America playing these sports, and a lot of people had a chance to see them. Used to be, when I first started doing history on the Negro Leagues, people used to say, it's too bad nobody had a chance to see them. And one of the first things I did in my book is clear that up. And that was 1992 when I began to kind of clear that up, because there were lots of people who saw these athletes. And they saw these athletes, and people just wouldn't give them credit. And so they would always say, too bad no one saw them. But I had a grandfather and some of my neighbors who were older people, they went to the games often. And I just refused to believe that they were the nobodies that they said who didn't see these teams. So, all right. So that's another guy. All right. So let's keep it rolling. Let's see this one here. Let me see if I can go down here and make it a little bigger. Okay. So December 15th, 1961. And it says that Milwaukee Braves traded Ed Charles, Joe Askew, and Manny Jimenez to the Kansas City A's for Lou Kimberhawk and Bob Shaw. And I had the pleasure of knowing Ed Charles. Now, Ed Charles was considered the poet laureate of baseball. Did you know that? Yeah, they had poet laureate of baseball. Actually, I know three baseball players that I knew who wrote poems. One of them was Dave Melasher of the Old American Giants. He wrote poems. Dan Quisenberry, relief pitcher for the Royals, he wrote poems. I think somewhere I may even have Dan's book. If not, I need to buy it. But Dan wrote poetry right up until the time he passed away, and also Ed Charles. So yeah, Ed Charles ended up. You probably remember him. They had a little feature where in the movie 42, the little kid that Jackie threw something to, it was symbolizing Ed Charles from one of his stories. And then also, he was with the Miracle Mets in 1969. But when I picked him up, he was with the Kansas City A's as a third baseman. Got replaced by a guy who was a pretty good ball player, Sal Bando, who came in with that young group of Kansas City Athletics, who ended up over in the Oakland team. And Sal Bando was a good one. So, you know what? I have one of the greatest Sal Bando stories you ever want to hear. You want to hear this story? I tell you what, if you want to hear this story about Sal Bando, this great story, go ahead and put a couple of hearts in here. And if you want to hear, go ahead and put a couple of hearts in there. If I get 5 hearts, I'll tell you the Sal Bando story. All right. So I'm going to keep on rolling and going through, but I thought I would recite just a few words from one of Ed Charles's poems. All right. So let's see. This is one that he wrote after he got to the big leagues. And it says, Author of my talents, only I have praised. To thee only shall my hands be raised. For when I was burdened with the weight of my team, to my rescue you came, it was always seen. Far outstanding is my pay on any given day when you intervene and help me lead the way. Grateful to you I'll always be for exploiting my talents for the world to see. That was Ed Charles. All right, okay. All right then, let's keep it rolling. Somebody want to know if I have anything from Babe Ruth? Oh yeah, I've got some, but I have some things here that I'm talking about ball players that you typically don't know about. So hopefully, this is the kind of interesting thing that you will find. And how about this? It broadens your knowledge. And that's what I'm trying to do, broaden your knowledge. So if you listen to my broadcast, guys, you're going to walk away hearing names that you don't typically hear, and it allows you to go and do some research. So even when I was talking about Camardi's dad, I'm talking about Florida A&M. That's an HBCU. And of course, they were playing against Wilberforce. That's an HBCU, and that stands for Historically Black College and University. How many historically black colleges or universities do you know? How many can you recite? There were lots of them, and I'm really privileged to talk about some of these guys who attended these schools and did wonderful things, and then went on to play professional baseball. Some of them actually played in the American National League. It just depends on when they came along. Many of them came along when there was no opportunity for them to do that, but they still achieved big things. All right, so let's go to December 15, 1967. Outfielder Tommy Davis is traded by the New York Mets with three other players to Chicago's American League White Sox for Tommy Agee and Al Weiss. This is just one of many trades and signings for Davis, a lifetime .294 hitter, and he played in 1,999 big league games. Right, this guy played. If I'm going to be correct, I think he played for 10 teams. All right. All right then, let's keep it rolling. If somebody says, "Do you like Hank?" I don't know this name. I don't know this name. Maybe I have to look it up. Okay, I will look it up when I get off. All right then, let's keep it going here. Let's see. How about December 15, 1967? Maurice Samuel Vaughn. You probably remember him, aka Mo Vaughn, is born in Norwalk, Connecticut. Vaughn was an American League MVP in 1995. And let's go to December 15, 1980. The New York Yankees signed Dave Winfield as a free agent. Of course, you know he did some outstanding things in New York. Now, here's the interesting thing about Dave Winfield. I don't know how much you know about Dave Winfield. He's still around. He would be a good autograph for you to have, and I'll tell you the reason why. He holds one distinction that few players can boast. He was drafted by 4 professional teams coming out of college. So let's look at what teams drafted him and where. All right. So it was 3 sports, 4 teams. Well, first of all, he was drafted. Let's see. This 1972, drafted by the San Diego Padres, 4th overall pick. That's baseball. Then he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks in basketball, 5th round. All right, and that's NBA. Then he was drafted by the Utah Stars basketball, ABA, American Basketball Association, and sixth round in there. And then he was also drafted by a professional football team in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings, in the 17th round. Can anybody ever boast that they did that besides him? I don't think so. I don't think so. So if you can get a Dave Winfield autograph, go ahead and get it, guys. I think that would be a wonderful one to have in your collection, Dave Winfield. And so I've met Dave Winfield on many occasions, especially when he played for the Yankees. I used to go down. I had a press pass, and I was carrying a press pass for the Kansas City Call, and I would go down and talk to these guys all the time. And he was one that whenever the Yankees came in, I would go talk to Dave Winfield. So, yeah. So, all right, then, let's go. We got one more for you, all right? So, and then we're going to wrap her up, and I'm going to say hello to a few people. So let me know where you're following me from, all right? Let me know where you're coming from, okay? So here we go. December 15, 1987. Most of you guys were probably born during that time. So outfielder Mike Davis signed as a free agent for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he finished the season with 20 home runs, 53 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and a .292 batting percentage. Now, if you want a little trivia on Mike Davis, let me get a drink of water here. I'm going to give you a little trivia. A little trivia on Mike Davis. Okay, Mike Davis, you probably remember Kirk Gibson when he hit that walk-off home run in 1988 in the World Series. Well, Davis had walked. Then he stole second base, and that set the stage for Kirk Gibson to come in and pitch hit. And Kirk Gibson limped up there and smashed a home run, and the rest is history. A lot of times you see Gibson in replays hitting the home run, but you never know that Mike Davis was the one on base. Yeah. So that's a little trivia for you. And that kind of was a good place to wrap it up for tonight. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Phil S. Dixon. I'm a baseball historian and author. I've written a number of books, so I don't have any one sitting right in front of me right now. But yeah, you can go online, and if you look me up, you'll see that I'm the real deal. And so I appreciate you joining, and hopefully everybody's learning a lot. I really get a kick out of presenting this information, and the spreadsheet I'm working off of is a spreadsheet I started putting together about 30 years ago for another project. So I have all these historic facts and feats, and then every once in a while I find something new that I can add to it that's even more fun for me. So every day I'm looking at these totals, these statistics, these feats, these names, and I am happy to talk to you. Somebody says, do you know anything about Babe Ruth? I know a lot about Babe Ruth. I know a lot about Babe Ruth. Do you know about Babe Ruth eating the 21 hot dogs between the doubleheader? Hey, that's one of those Babe Ruth stories. You got to go look that up if you don't know that story. But yeah, I definitely know something about Babe Ruth. Anybody want to mention where you're from? Somebody said, were you a baseball player? I was not a big league player. I was a kid who played baseball, and I played through high school and just developed a love for baseball and baseball history from the very first year that I found out about baseball. I remember as a kid, probably in the fourth, fifth grade, I didn't have the money to buy a yearbook, so we did have a subscription to the newspaper. So I bought one of those Big Chief tablets, and I would cut out the articles. I made my own yearbook. This is a little kid, and so I made my own yearbook, and I would cut the pictures out, and that's how I got started. Somebody says they're from Virginia. Okay, all right then. I know a lot about Virginia. Okay, somebody said I like Ruth Foster, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Hank Thompson, Monty Irvin, the whole thing. Yeah, I think I've talked about every single one of those guys on these broadcasts. I happen to have known Hank Aaron. Yeah, I met Hank Aaron on several occasions. So yeah, I've actually, from time to time, I'll post a picture signed by Hank Aaron. So guys, I want to thank everybody for joining. I try to keep it right around 20 minutes in case, people want to go back and listen. They don't have to listen for an hour. But I try to, give you as much as I can. I pack it tight, and I try to get out of here in 20 minutes. So we're going to get out of here about 23 and a half minutes. But I do want to thank you all. If you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe, guys, and let's keep this network growing. And as long as you want information, I will keep coming back with more and more and more. And right now I'm working on working on two books. One of them I'm trying to finish editing, and another one I've just started. And so who knows? I may be talking about that as well as some of these baseball feeds. So thank you very much for joining me again tonight. This has been This Day in Black Baseball History, the December 15th, 2025 edition. And thank you, guys. And I will see you real soon with more baseball history that specializes from men who played in the Negro professional baseball leagues. Have a good evening.